Thanks for joining us, everyone. We're speaking to the author of the book, All or Nothing, How Trump Recaptured America, Mr. Michael Wolff. Michael, appreciate you joining. How you doing?
Of course, I'm great. How about you?
I'm doing very well. I saw something, you speaking of something that I found very fascinating, because we have the whole Jeffrey Epstein coming up. And now all of a sudden, Donald Trump is like, I don't want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know who he is. Why are you guys asking me questions about it? When he, in many ways ran on this. You were saying that there have been talks that Donald Trump actually wanted to have conversations or had conversations about possibly pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell.
Well, let me clarify. I know of a conversation in which, um, and this was at the moment of her conviction, shortly after, and he said, "What do you think she can say?" Um, and then, um, and then the aides around him said, "My, they didn't know, and they didn't want to go there because this is a no-go subject area." And then he said, "Should I pardon her?" And equally, nobody wants him to pardon her, and nobody really wants to go there. So the conversation passed. That's what I know.
So then, okay, why is this a no-go conversation?
I, Among the subjects that everybody knows that are that are problematic for Trump is Epstein. So once, when I went to interview Epstein, this was in when I went down to Mar-a-Lago, and the aides say, they ask you for a sort of broad outline of what you want to talk about, and I probably had 10 subjects, among them Jeffrey Epstein, and the one Trump aide said, "Listen, if you bring up Epstein, he will stop the interview." So this person said, "My advice is, if you want to speak to him, if you want this interview to go on, don't bring this up." And in fact, I did not bring it up, and we spoke for several hours.
Why?
Well, and I have always, I think the question is the broader question is, how come Jeffrey Epstein has not been pinned on Donald Trump? Jeffrey Epstein has been pinned on a lot of people who have suffered for it, suffered for their acquaintance with him. Donald Trump's acquaintance was much broader and deeper than anyone else's. They were friends for more than a decade, and not just friends, but joined at the hip friends, best friends. They hunted women together, hunt being the right word. For about a year, they shared a girlfriend back and forth. They were constantly on each other's planes. Um, they were in. They gave each other business advice. They were extraordinarily close. And then ultimately they fell out in 2004 over a real estate deal. But somehow Trump, as he avoids accountability for virtually everything, has avoided this. He's avoided being pinned as one of the central relationships in the life of Jeffrey Epstein.
Do you think well, obviously, I guess he's told people, I don't want to talk about this in interviews. So if he doesn't want to talk about it in interviews, I'm wondering why he brings it up in private. But do you understand what I'm saying? People would, this is what someone would surmise, is that if they were friends for as long as you said that they were, I didn't know that Jeffrey Epstein, am I correct, said that Donald Trump was his best friend or one of his best friends?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, correct. Um, then one, he's afraid to talk about it, and then two, why would he want to pardon Ghislaine?
Well, as we know, he hasn't pardoned her, but I think at the moment that came up. A broader context. Donald Trump views his pardon authority as absolute. I can pardon anyone, anytime. So this is Ghislaine Maxwell is not the only person he has mused about pardoning. So I mean, we can make the connection through, obviously, from Ghislaine to Jeffrey Epstein, but you might also say, this was just, again, Donald Trump. He knew Ghislaine, obviously. I think that at a moment they knew each other fairly well, and I think he might have thought, well, she's a friend of mine, should I pardon her? But I don't know. All I can tell you is that conversation occurred.
The question is, does he have something to hide? That's what people are going to
Well,
wonder.
yeah, I mean, this is easy. He obviously has something to hide, to the extent that he and Jeffrey Epstein were extremely close friends for a very long time. Again, everybody else, their acquaintance with Epstein has cost them mightily in many cases. Donald Trump, it's cost him nothing. He's managed to avoid or elide this fact that hangs out there in plain sight. I mean, I saw yesterday the Wall Street Journal did a piece that I mean, it was point by point. This is what we know about the Trump Epstein relationship, and it's a substantial amount, and it's certainly indicative that this relationship went on for a long time, was far more than just a casual friendship, that these guys were, uh, you know, um, BFFs.
Well, the thing is, too, is how they, I did a show, and when, you've seen the video of them dancing, and Donald Trump is, with the girls. You've seen that video, right?
Sure, of
The
course.
two together. Um, And I said, when MAGA folks see that video, they don't see Donald Trump. They see, maybe Joe Biden or Bill Clinton, but they don't, for some reason, they don't see Donald Trump. And they think it's all a big sort of conspiracy that Joe Biden and the Democrats did something with Jeffrey Epstein, killed him. They'll say Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. But Donald Trump was president when that happened, not only when he went to jail, but also when he died. And I don't know how this becomes a left wing Democratic conspiracy theory when it seems that Donald Trump has the most exposure and the most evidence of being tied to Jeffrey Epstein.
I know, it's an extraordinary thing, and I think the MAGA people have gotten hoisted on this in the last several days. They've pursued this, release the files, and then suddenly, yeah, and Pam Bondi, there are files, and then there are, oh, we don't have any files. There's nothing here.
And the FBI handed over a couple hundred pages of documents. But, Sean, I gave them a deadline of Friday at 8 a.m. to get us everything. And a source had told me where the documents were being kept, Southern District of New York, shock. So we got them all by, hopefully all of them, Friday at 8 a.m., thousands of pages of documents. I have the FBI going through them, and Cash is also, now that we have Cash here, it's a game changer, of course, and Cash is going to, Director Patel is going to get us a detailed report as to why the FBI withheld all of those documents.
Okay, I want to be clear because I think people got frustrated because they were expecting more. You were expecting more, and you didn't find out less than 24 hours before the release. You got a whistleblower that confirmed that there were way more documents that they were supposed to turn over, and then you found out just before that.
Well, sure. And you're looking at these documents going, these aren't all the Epstein files. There were flight logs, there were names and victims' names. And we're going, where's the rest of the stuff? And that's what the FBI had turned over to us. And so a source said, whoa, all this evidence is sitting in the Southern District of New York.
Yeah.
So based on that, I gave them the deadline, Friday at 8, a truckload of evidence arrived. It's now in the possession of the FBI. Cash is going to get me and himself, really, a detailed report as to why all these documents and evidence had been withheld. And, we're going to go through it as fast as we can, but go through it very cautiously to protect all the victims of Epstein, because there are a lot of victims.
What assumptions? I mean, you can probably make many assumptions about that, but one of the direct assumptions, Pam Bondi is the president's lawyer. I mean, he's made that very clear. She's not an independent attorney general. She is the lawyer for Donald Trump, and she takes instructions from her client, Donald Trump. And so, can we assume, or at least reasonably imagine, that she was told to let's stop this Epstein stuff. Do not go there.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, yes, I think we can say that's a reasonable conclusion.
You think that there are files, and they're saying, because that's what the MAGA folks now who are like, oh,
I don't think it's a question of files or not files. I think it's a question. Let's not talk about Jeffrey Epstein. This is not going to
not helpful.
End well for Donald Trump.
Then what does this do for all of the, I call them left-wing lunatics, I mean right-wing lunatics like Laura Loomer and all of those guys coming out, of the White House with these saying, oh, we have the documents, we've got the goods, and then there's nothing. You don't think that they they do, but I don't think they're going to act on it. They owe it to the public to clear up this conspiratorial bullshit that they've been putting out?
Who owes it to the public?
I mean, well, MAGA and Donald Trump, because Donald Trump has been, and his folks have been, even Pam Bondi and Dan.
No. Yeah, I don't think that they really think in terms of the public right to know. I think that they think in terms of what's good for Donald Trump, and I think the MAGA people are caught. I mean, it's potentially a very difficult moment for them on this, because they have to, what are their choices here? To continue to clamor for this and risk putting themselves in direct opposition to Donald Trump. Would they do that? No, they would not do that. So I would expect that everybody kind of retreats and swallows their embarrassment over this.
Support for the Don Lemon Show today comes from ZBiotics, and I have to tell you about this game-changing product that I use before a night out with drinks. It is called pre-alcohol, okay? ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists who tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in your gut. It is that buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that is to blame for rough days after drinking. So pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. So I've used it before, a couple nights out with them margaritas. Hey, I felt my best the next day, and so I'm so glad I took it. So I gave it a try. Started this summer, and it's been a game changer for me. I felt great the next morning. So make sure you take a prebiotic. Go to zbiotics.com. Go to zbiotics.com/lemon drops, zbiotic.com/lemon drops to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use lemon drops at checkout. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. That's pretty amazing, everyone. So remember to head to zbiotics.com/lemon drops and use the code lemon drops at checkout for 15% off. Never use anything alcohol or anything like this without your doctor. When you heard him at the press conference say, oh, we got so much going on, why are you talking about Jeffrey Epstein? I almost spit up my coffee, wait, what?
Can you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of Saturday?
Yeah, sure.
Hey, Pam, could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think he very clearly does not want to talk about this, and the reasons seem self-explanatory.
Yeah.
They were, and let me repeat this again and again and again. These were very close friends. Donald Trump, and I don't know if we want to cast this as an comedy or incredible irony. Donald Trump was the best friend of someone who the right wing has set up as the personification of evil.
Hmm.
Now, it's not only, by the way, the right wing, the left wing too. It's the right wing and the left wing who has conjured these deep conspiracies around Jeffrey Epstein, and conspiracies that I frankly don't really believe are true. But what I do believe is true, because we know it is true, is that Epstein and Trump were close friends.
Well, I think the left wing became more interested in it after this, after Bongino and all those guys came out and said, "Oh, he killed himself." Because if you look at the tape in 2023, I believe it was, Dan Bongino was, you should not. This is, he was a right wing podcaster, very successful at it, one of the highest rated shows. But then he didn't have to live in the world of facts then.
Listen, that Jeffrey Epstein story is a big deal. Please do not let that story go. Keep your eye on this. Catherine Rumler, we need to keep the heat on this case, folks. There are a lot of people who are knee deep in the Washington swamp who are not telling you the truth about serious allegations out there that Epstein may have had video and audio of people out there doing things they shouldn't have been doing. And you should be asking yourself the question, how is it that all these people, the CIA director, the Obama fixer, Bill Clinton, all intersected paths with Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein isn't with us anymore, and nobody seems to want to talk about it, outside of a few entrepreneurial media outlets saying, hey, this is a big deal.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
Well, they don't have to abide by facts. They have to abide by what Donald Trump tells them to abide by. So just see the FBI and the Justice Department as doing what it is directed to do. They are directed to do by the White House. Yeah, I mean, it's been very clear. I mean, that Donald Trump has been very explicit about this. He doesn't believe in an independent Justice Department. He believes the Attorney General works for him.
Yeah.
And the FBI works for the Attorney General.
In your book, any other revelations that you want to talk? Because this, to everyone, this was kind of a shocker about Ghislaine Maxwell. You always get the scoop, Michael. What else is on your mind?
Well, I mean, it's what's on my mind is the daily drumbeat of what is on everyone else's mind. Is a matter of fact, is there anything on anyone's mind that does not involve Donald Trump? I would like to meet that person.
Is he going to pardon Diddy?
Well, I don't know, but I certainly, it would certainly be absolutely in character, and I would find it almost impossible to believe he isn't considering it and he isn't discussing it, and if for no other reason, then he has this power. He understands he has this power. He has questioned many people about this power. My pardon power. How can I pardon anyone? Is there anything that can stop me? And then he goes back. So what you're telling me is I can pardon anybody. And he considers that constantly. And one of the things that goes on in the White House and in the greater Trump orbit is a lot of people making money off of representing people who are seeking to be pardoned. So, and it's one of those things that now is a kind of subset of what supports the MAGA world. Well, we can go, I'm a person in the MAGA world who can go to Donald Trump and argue that you should be pardoned. This is what it costs. So MAGA people get fees, basically, for against Donald Trump's pardon power.
Wait, what do you mean? Gets fees? What do you mean by that?
I mean, there are in the MAGA world. So if you have access to Donald Trump, then then one of the ways you're going to make money, and there's many
Oh,
ways you can make
yeah.
money if you have access to Donald Trump. But one of them is that Diddy's people are going to pay you to represent his case to Donald Trump. And that's good for Donald Trump because it keeps the MAGA world very loyal to him and supports them.
Yeah. Look, no, and you have access to Donald Trump. Here's the thing that I hear people discussing lately, and you can tell me if I'm off base here, and that is, where is Melania? Does Melania actually live do they share
Well,
the
she
same?
doesn't. No. I mean, they don't share anything. I mean,
together. Is it a marriage is it just by contract?
Yes. I mean, or it's. I mean, I don't know what it is. I know what it is not, and it is not a marriage in the way that we have traditionally construed this. It's not a middle class marriage. She doesn't. They don't actually spend very much time together. They don't actually live in the same place, or they don't often live in the same place. Yeah, she does not do the kinds of things that you could say a political wife is expected to do, but she doesn't even do the things that a wife is expected to do. Um, I mean, you might say, well, and some people, well, I don't even know how you can characterize this, except that either a relationship that they have created this relationship that works for the both of them because I mean, he needs her to pretend to be a a a wife by his side, although she barely pretends that. She barely is by his side, and she, I suppose, likes the life that she can lead because there's a considerable amount of money. But I don't know. I only know that this marriage is not a marriage um, um, like any we know.
Is there someone else there?
I mean, everybody I know around Donald Trump refers to him as says no. They say no, and they say he doesn't really. That's not really a thing anymore. By that, I think they mean he is post-sexual.
And what about on the other side, though?
I have no insight there. I've had dinner with them both, though. I've sat between them at a dinner table. That was quite an experience.
Well, go on.
Well, it's just like this is at Mar-a-Lago, and it's like sitting at the at the at the at the bride and groom's table. I'm sitting in the middle of them, and there's a constant stream of people coming up to him, and then he's just kind of motor mouthing everybody in turn. He doesn't even stop his conversation for the next person. The next person just sort of picks up wherever he is in his conversation, and then she's just an endless stream of pleasantries. Oh, hello. Oh, yes, that's so nice. Oh, yes, you look blah blah. And I'm sitting in the middle trying to get a drink.
Why does he give you so much access? Because I mean, often it's not, it's you don't paint a very pleasant picture of him often.
Um, I it's Donald Trump. Who knows? I mean, I know that the reason the at one point when I was gearing up to do another book, he was told about this, and then he said, "Oh, let's see that guy. He gets ratings." And then on another occasion, I saw him. This was on the campaign, and I was standing with a bunch of other reporters, and he pointed at me as he came through a room. He pointed at me and said, "I made that guy rich." But at the same time, there's a series. I mean, he's issued statement after statement about I'm a scumbag and a liar and a so-called reporter and et cetera, et cetera. Who knows? It all exists in the moment.
Yeah, it is quite fascinating. Michael Wolff is the author of the book All or Nothing: How Trump Recaptured America. Answer that question for me real quickly. How did he do that?
I guess through utter extraordinary shamelessness. He just refused to accept the fact that everybody said he could not do this and that he would actually go to jail in the process of doing this. So he certainly did not go to jail, although he was certainly convicted.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael.
Anytime.
Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.